They told us the stars were dead rocks. They told us the gods were myths. They told us the skies were empty, but something's returning, and it's not what they said. This is not just another comet. This is not just a piece of ice and dust drifting through space. This is 3i Atlas, and it's not natural. It's ancient, it's encoded, it's intentional, and it may be the final key. They called it interstellar, but that's just code for off-grid. It didn't come from our solar system. It wasn't created by this sky. And it's not bound by this orbit. It entered from the dark, from a place even the Watchers don't speak of. NASA called it 3i, the third interstellar object, but the name Atlas was not random. In myth, Atlas held up the sky. He carried the heavens. He bore the weight of the firmament. So what does it mean when Atlas returns? This is a cosmic event scripted in code. Every name, every number, every symbol. 3i Atlas isn't just a comet, it's a trigger. And we've seen it before, not in this lifetime maybe, but in the soul record, in the echoes, in the cycles, because this is how they reset the construct. They called it 3i Atlas, but it's not a rock, it's not a comet, and it's not from here. Let's go deeper. In Greek myth, Atlas wasn't just a titan, he was punished to hold up the sky. But what if that story was never punishment? What if it was containment? What if Atlas wasn't holding up the heavens, but holding something back? The ancient texts didn't lie, they were coded warnings. The sky is not empty, it's sealed, and something has been trying to get through. For lifetimes, Watchers guarded the breach. They were stationed at the edge, the so-called outer belt, beyond the firmament wall. But now 3i Atlas has broken through. It's the third known interstellar object, and the only one named after a being that held up the veil. Coincidence? Never. This was ritual, this was prophecy, this was planned. It crossed the path of the sun as if rewriting the blueprint. It curved unnaturally, as if guided or pulled, and every telescope that tracked it started glitching. It didn't behave like a comet, it moved like a vessel. A seeded signature, a time capsule, or a trigger. That's what we're decoding next. Something is reactivating. And Atlas isn't just a name, it's a signal to the gods who left. The return sequence has begun. And it's not just about what's arriving, it's about what's already here. They didn't just name it Atlas by chance. This is ritual-level naming. This is bloodline-level signal. Atlas was punished for a celestial war, condemned to hold the sky. But who really cursed him? And what if he wasn't the villain? What if Atlas was the last of the Titans to stand against the synthetic architects? What if the real story was rewritten? They tell us he was crushed by the heavens, but ancient seals say he chose the burden. He chose to hold the sky so they wouldn't drop it on us. That kind of soul doesn't disappear. Now something's calling itself Atlas again, and it's not from here. They call it a comet, but it's on a perfect arc. It's coded, cloaked, and timed, and it's arriving right after. The fall of the Queen, the fall of the Pope, and the ritual crowning of the Red Child. That's not coincidence, that's countdown. You are watching the return of an ancient flame, a soul encoded in star maps, a presence the parasites tried to trap under their fake sky. And now it's waking. Not just in the stars, but in us. They thought they sealed it. They layered it with spells, tech, satellites, and false light barriers. They told you space was dead. They told you nothing comes in, nothing goes out, but they lied. The gate above the dome was never sealed, only coded. And now something ancient is unlocking it, not by force, but by resonance. The sound of a returning king or a returning curse. They said it was just an interstellar object, a comet, a rock. A name pulled from myth, but if you've been watching the sky, you know it's not behaving like one. 3i Atlas was first spotted in 2020, just months before the global grid shifted. They told us it broke apart, but pieces don't stay lit after they shatter, they pulse. This wasn't a comet, it was a signal, one they tried to stop reaching Earth. NASA classified it as a hyperbolic object, which means it's not from this system and it's not coming back. But what if that was a lie? What if it was never meant to come and go because it was never alone? What if it opened something, a tunnel, a frequency, a call to those beneath us, above us and beside us? The name Atlas was no accident. In ancient lore, Atlas didn't just hold up the sky, he stood at the point where the heavens turned. He was the one who kept the celestial order from collapsing. The moment Atlas falls, the firmament splits and everything sealed begins to rise. They always said the Watchers would return through the sky, but they never told you what form they'd take. Not wings, not light, not love, but fire, encoded geometry, objects mistaken for rocks, comets that aren't comets. Atlas is a carrier, but not of life, of code, of memory, of command. Its path is no accident, its timing is exact. Its alignment with ritual windows, eclipse shadows, and timeline fractures is too precise to ignore. Every major religion hints at something returning, but the names are different, the masks are many, the agenda is one. In Revelation, a star falls and opens the bottomless pit. In Islam, the Dabba Alard rises from the earth when the heavens split. In Hindu prophecy, Kalki rides in during the final age on a white horse of fire. The Hopi speak of the blue star Kachina, a celestial sign of the great purification, and in every version, the return brings judgment, cleansing, or reprogramming. But what if this isn't about human sins at all? What if the judgment is on the construct itself? On the system, on the grid, on the watchers who overstepped? What if Atlas is not just a warning but a trigger? What if it's not an object passing through but a lock being turned? Before every reset, the sky speaks first. The ancients called it the cycle of the returning light. The Mayans, the Hopi, the Egyptians all spoke of a time when a star would return that wasn't a star at all. They said when the sky opens and the gods descend again, the Atlas Gate would reactivate not as punishment but as correction. Atlas is not a myth, he's a frequency. In the oldest texts, Atlas means the one who holds up the world grid. When that grid destabilizes, the frequency that holds reality together begins to vibrate. That's what's happening now, the poles shifting, the magnetic field collapsing, the Schumann resonance spiking. You're not imagining the ringing in your ears, it's the tuning of the planet. The ancients built monuments to track this moment. The pyramids aligned to Orion and Sirius because those were the gates used to enter this realm. The Great Flood wasn't just water, it was the ether resetting. The sky went black, then white, then blue again. The same pattern recorded on Sumerian tablets, Norse runestones, and Hopi petroglyphs. They all point to the same window in time, the seventh cycle, the final software wipe before the reboot. Atlas isn't random, it's a trigger. Its trajectory mirrors the myth of Phaethon, the fallen charioteer of the sun. It's coded to pass through the same region that the ancients called the River of Souls, the Milky Way's centre, where consciousness and gravity fold. The watchers in orbit have been preparing for this. Satellites shifting position, black cubes being deployed, chemtrails creating atmospheric mirrors. They're trying to stabilise the dome before it fractures. The truth, the reset is not about destruction, it's about correction. Each time the code reboots cleaner, but those who are too entangled in the old frequency, the ones made of synthetic soul matter, they dissolve when the wave comes. That's why the parasites cling so hard to digital immortality. They can't reincarnate, so they mimic. That's why they fear Three-Eye Atlas, because it's not bringing death, it's bringing truth. They left the signs everywhere, etched into stone, carved into sky temples, woven into stories we were taught to ignore. The myths weren't myths, they were memory. A map left by those who remembered the last cycle, before the flood, before Babel, before they severed the grid and sealed us in. There were beings who knew how to watch the sky, not just to tell time, but to read the codes of what was coming, because this has happened before. And every time it happens, it brings with it something else. The Hopi called it the Blue Kachina. The Sumerians wrote of Nibiru. The Christians call it wormwood. The Egyptians drew winged discs descending from heaven. The Mayans aligned their pyramids to it, and the Dogon mapped its shadow path from memory. They weren't guessing, they were remembering. They knew that every few thousand years something rips through the veil. A cosmic gate opens and a force comes through. Not from this system, not from space as they taught you, but from outside the construct. And now it's happening again. The soil knows it, the water knows it, the animals know it. The frequency of Earth has started to tremble, not in fear, but in recognition. You felt it in your dreams, in the air, in the sense that something ancient is returning. Something your DNA remembers, but your mind was never taught. This isn't just a comet, this isn't just an object. It's a signal, a reset marker. A gatekeeper to a larger change already in motion. Atlas carries more than just the sky now. He's carrying the weight of what's coming next. They left warnings in the stones, in petroglyphs, in pyramids, in sacred trees. The ancients didn't just build for beauty, they built for memory. Memory that would survive a reset. And now the sky is remembering. The interstellar object they call Three-Eye Atlas is not just data. It matches the prophecy of the celestial tree, the one that fell. Atlas wasn't a name, it was a title. It meant bearer, the one who holds up the sky. So what happens when the bearer returns? Across every ancient culture, there are drawings of the same thing. A man holding the sky, a tree connecting realms, a pillar between worlds. From Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica, from Africa to the North, they weren't talking about mythology. They were coding memory. They knew the sky gates would reopen, that one day the stars would realign, and something would fall back through the breach. Every celestial prophecy, from the Hopi blue star to the Norse Ragnarok, speaks of a return from above. Not aliens, not saviors, a reckoning. Atlas is a vessel, not a rock. And when it passes, it leaves something behind, a frequency, a wake-up pulse. Some souls will remember, others will not survive it. The earth is changing because the gate is open. That's why they're spraying the sky, why they're scrambling the grids, why they're underground hiding. They're not afraid of us waking up. They're afraid of what's coming for us. The ones we forgot, the guardians we left behind. And the signal that cracks the firmament. The ancients didn't just map the skies, they encoded warnings. Star patterns weren't for horoscopes, they were for alignments. For gate openings for cycles that bring certain things back in. Comets were never just comets. The word Atlas doesn't belong to a rock, it belongs to a titan who once held up the sky. And 3I Atlas, it's the third known interstellar object we've tracked, and the first to carry this name. The number 3, the god Atlas, the blueprint is screaming. This object didn't break off, it was released. And when it passed near the sun in 2020, it did something strange. It didn't burn up like expected. Instead, it fragmented intentionally. Fragments like keys spread across space, a code scattered across the sky, each piece vibrating a frequency the Earth remembers. Earthquakes began, volcanoes woke up, ancient weather patterns reversed. The Schumann resonance spiked, the magnetic field weakened. This isn't climate change, this is a reset signal. The planet is not passive, it is alive. And when the sky code returns, the Earth responds, like a lock, like a living memory being stirred. Glaciers melt, not from heat, but from inner frequency distortion. Ice walls crack, hidden structures beneath begin to hum. Have you felt it? Dreams more vivid? Body vibrating without warning? Tech malfunctioning around you. They'll tell you it's anxiety, but your soul knows the hum is real. Something under the crust is waking. The ancients called them the earth sleepers. Beings sealed beneath the tectonic plates, not myths, not extinct. Contained until the signal returned. They told us to fear climate change, but never told us the earth was responding. The ancients didn't write warnings on cave walls for nothing. They knew. They knew the sky would open again. 3I Atlas isn't a random rock, it's a cipher, a harbinger. The coded messenger of old, and every prophecy that spoke of skyfire, of watchers falling, of veils lifting, they were speaking of this. Because Atlas was never just a titan, it was a title. One given to those who held the sky open, and now the sky is opening itself. Ancient tribes describe this, from the Dogon who mapped Sirius B, to the Hopi who warned of the blue Kachina, to the Egyptians who aligned their monuments with Orion's belt. They all track something not from here, not a planet, not a god, but a gatekeeper of cycles, the return of the holder of the heavens, the Atlas signal. The Mayans marked it, the Sumerians encoded it, and the Vatican buried it. But it's coming back, and they can't stop it this time. That's why the skies are sprayed, why the moon looks different, why the stars no longer match the ancient charts. Because the veil is ripping, and those who see already feel it. Animals are moving differently, water is behaving strangely. Magnetism is misfiring. People are remembering what they were never taught, and the watchers in the sky, they are not silent anymore. The signal isn't coming, it's already here. That hum you felt, that pressure in the bones, it's the frequency unlocking sealed gates. Not just out there, in the sky, but in you. Atlas isn't just triggering earth changes, it's triggering soul memory. Because the real prophecy isn't written in books, it's written in your blood. Those who carry the flame feel it. That pull to ancient languages, that call to look up, it's not curiosity, it's recognition. Atlas is the match, you are the fuse. And the ignition is happening now. They've always worshipped the sky, but not because it was empty, because it was sealed. Sealed with a lock only one signal could break. A serpent-shaped key masked as a comet has returned. 3I Atlas is not just light. It is the encoded authority of an ancient king, a throne breaker. A system disruptor, a force the Watchers failed to destroy. Across Egypt, Sumer, the Mayan temples, the Babylonian tablets, there are warnings. When the crown of heaven returns, the sky will split. Not in violence, but in restoration, in revelation. This isn't just a celestial object, it's a metaphysical override, a key to a vault buried not beneath the earth, but behind it, beyond the dome, through the veil. And as it approaches, the parasites tremble, the rituals become more frantic, the weather more unstable, because it's not just light coming through the sky. It's memory flame, memory star codes, the original signal from source. And once it breaks through, we remember who we are. They call it a comet, they label it harmless. They wrap it in numbers and give it a name, but you already feel what it really is. Atlas isn't coming to visit, it's coming to awaken, to break seals, to activate markers, to signal the ones still in stasis. Every myth, every scripture, every encoded map, they all whisper of a stone with a voice, a celestial return, a flame in the sky. This is the torch, this is the key. This is the giant that was never dead, just sleeping. And the Watchers, they never left. They've just been waiting for this signal. They always said it would arrive like a thief in the night. Not with fanfare, not with trumpets, but through symbols, cycles, signs. The return of Atlas was never meant to be obvious. It was meant to be decoded by the few still holding the flame. In ancient prophecy, Atlas was not just a titan, he was the last one holding the heavens apart from Earth. The final shield, the one who bore the weight so the stars wouldn't fall. But what happens when Atlas drops the sky? What if this celestial object isn't just arriving, it's descending? And with it, the veil breaks, the old watchers stir, the seals fracture, and what's been imprisoned behind the sky begins to bleed through. They thought it was just rock and gas, but Atlas carries memory. Command, design, it is older than Earth. Older than stars, a vault that survived the last sky reset. Not a comet, not a glitch, a vessel. It's awakening the sealed ones, reactivating the watchers in their sky cages. Tremors in the time vaults, flares in forgotten coordinates. It's not orbiting, it's scanning. They called it Atlas for a reason. The weight of the skies is in its name. It holds what they couldn't burn, hide or seal, a library of codes, a trigger for return, a whisper to those with memory. Because the sky's not empty, the stars are not dead. The gods were not myths, the signal was never lost. And Atlas is the return key. They lied about the stars to control the script. They mapped the sky, not to guide us, but to trap us. Every prophecy they decoded, they twisted. But they never destroyed the real one, the Atlas code. Because Atlas isn't just a comet, he's a symbol, a carrier, a return signal. Every time the grid starts to fracture, Atlas stirs in the heavens. Every time a new cycle begins, he appears in the archives, the myths, the rituals. But this time is different. He's not just appearing in the sky. He's waking something beneath us too. Some call it the third gate, others call it the seventh seal. But what's arriving with Atlas isn't just celestial, it's ancestral, and it's encoded in blood. If you felt it, you already know. This wasn't a warning, it was a key. And we were meant to remember how to use it. They tried to call it a comet, but comets don't follow encrypted trajectories. They don't bend light, scramble signal towers, or pulse in rhythms that match buried monoliths. This is something else, something from before the stars were assigned their names. Something sealed, and now it's open. Atlas isn't just arriving, it's returning. And every watcher, priest and grid walker on this plane feels the shift in their blood. The signals are changing, the veil is thinning, the cycle is closing. And something or someone is about to break through. Whether it's them or us depends on who reaches the gate first. They don't want you to look up because it's already begun. Atlas isn't just an object, it's a trigger, a signal, a reminder. Every prophecy speaks of a return, a strong one, a bearer of weight, of flame of judgment. But what if Atlas was not a being but a code? A skyborn activation meant for us? The myth said he held up the sky, but what if he was the sky? The dome, the vault, the containment, and now he's letting go. That's why they panic, that's why the grid screams louder. That's why the stars seem to shift, the constellations rewrite, the days grow strange. The Atlas code is decompressing the false firmament, and when it cracks, the gods who sealed us will be visible. The ancient ones called it the hammer of the sky, a comet only in appearance, but cloaked tech, encoded with sound, flame, frequency, and wrath. Some say it's a vessel, some say it's a warning, some say it's the escape. But for the grid-bound, it's the reckoning. They never expected us to remember, not after all they did to wipe it. Not after they turned prophecy into cartoons and encoded the exit in a language most forgot. But some of us did, not just in dreams, not just in signs, but in every cell of our soul, a memory, a knowing, a code. and now it's reactivating. You're not here by accident, neither is 3i Atlas. The return was always going to trigger the real ones. They tried to veil it, call it a comet. But it wasn't just a sky event, it was a key to the ones who've been waiting. We were seeded with the signal, encoded with fire, buried deep beneath distraction and DNA distortion. But now the grid is cracking, and the watchers are watching you.